Trump now, all of a sudden, is dramatically changing his position from yesterday to today on Gaza. Well, what do I mean by that? Now, apparently, we're not going to buy Gaza. We're just going to take a sovereign nation. I'm not making this up, folks. Have a listen to this.
U.S. would buy Gaza, and today you just said we're not going to buy Gaza.
We're not going to have to buy. We're going to have Gaza. We don't have to buy. There's nothing to buy. We will have Gaza.
What is that?
No reason to buy. There is nothing to buy. It's Gaza. It's a war-torn area. We're going to take it. We're going to hold it. We're going to cherish it.
We're going to hold it. We're going to cherish it. What is he talking about? One day we're going to buy it. The next day we're just going to take it. What about all the, and he was asked, by the way, moments later, he was asked, what if the Palestinians in Gaza don't want to leave? Didn't give an answer. It's so embarrassing. And you see that idiot Marco Rubio. I call Marco Rubio an idiot because he just sits there with his uncomfortable face, knowing that everything that Donald Trump is saying is ridiculous. And he just sits there like the doofus he is and as uncomfortable as he is. And while Donald Trump is embarrassing us on the world stage, as he did today, right in front of the King of Jordan, claiming that we're just going to take over a sovereign nation, you have Uday from Uday and Kusei, also known as Donald Trump's sons, Eric and Don Jr. Yeah, Eric made another right-wing appearance, and he's continuing to spread the conspiracy theories about 50 million or 100 million in Gaza sent to condoms. It went from 100 to 50. It's really weird in the same interview. Have a listen to this.
When Elon and my father go in there and they want to audit the IRS, when they want to audit USAID, who is spending $100 million to send condoms to Gaza, let alone running shrimp on treadmill and all the other ridiculous things. The Democrats go crazy. Let them do it. I'm a business guy. I understand this world very, very well. I want them to follow that money, right? Because it's more than, again, the shrimp dancing on the treadmill. It's more than the $50 million for the condoms to Gaza.
Literally in the same interview, 5 minutes earlier, first he said 100 million of condoms to Gaza. Then it went a couple minutes later to 50 million. It's actually zero. That whole story has been debunked. But these right-wing morons and Biff, also known as Eric Trump, claiming that all these condoms were sent to Gaza. That's been debunked. It's not true. It is interesting because speaking of people who do things for their own benefit, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. appeared on Laura Ingram's show on Fox News yesterday. And he was asked by Laura Ingraham, who I think is a despicable person, do you have a list of people that need to be removed and quickly? So RFK Jr. basically has a similar list to Kash Patel. Have a listen to this.
You have a list of people that you already know need to be removed and quickly?
I have a list in my head, and you know, we have a generic list of the kind of people that, you know, if you've been involved in good science, you got nothing to worry about. If you care about public health, you got nothing to worry about. If you're in there working for the pharmaceutical industry, then I'd say you should move out and work for the pharmaceutical industry.
Oh, why not? Just make it official. Today, Senator.
Why not? Why not? Oh, the racist scarecrow, Laura Ingraham, ladies and gentlemen, and the dirtbag nut, tinfoil man, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Oh, yeah. And then the question came up on women's productive rights. Now, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., in my opinion, even has some extreme positions on this that I don't even have. I pretty much have been consistent when it comes to a woman's right to choose, and I don't believe in late-term abortion unless it could affect the health of the mother, and that's why they're doing it. But I believe in a woman's right to choose. I think, you know, if you want to make it the first 3 or 4 months, I'm totally okay with that. But RFK Jr. has said full term he's still okay with abortion, but he doesn't like talking about this issue because it upsets a lot of the evangelical right and many of Donald Trump's base supporters. So RFK Jr. was asked on his take on abortion drugs. Have a listen to this.
Anti-abortion or pro-life people and pro-abortion people are debating about what y'all are going to do with the abortifacient drugs that some would say haven't been studied enough, especially among young people. They're over the counter. Biden loosened the restrictions on them. What will you do on that issue?
President Trump hasn't made a decision about that issue yet.
Study it more?
What he's asked me to do is study the safety study the safety signals. And I think that that's worth doing. During the Biden administration, the NIH did something that was inexcusable, which is to tell doctors and patients not to report injuries, and that's not a good that's not a good policy.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what Donald Trump told you to do. Study the safety. Yeah, I'm sure if they, I wonder if they did a study on releasing a bunch of white supremacists that were convicted of violent crimes. I wonder what the study of that safety would tell Donald Trump and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Such a liar, such an idiot. And here's where it gets even worse, right? So now Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and the MAGA right are talking about children eating healthy lunches at school. Do we remember when Michelle Obama did this? Years ago, Michelle Obama, who I think is a hero, implemented some of these school lunches, not just pricing, but healthy lunches for kids. And the right was going crazy. How dare her? How dare a powerful and intelligent black woman tell my kids what to eat at lunch? Well, whatever happened to that hatred? Because Robert F. Kennedy Jr. saying the same stuff, the same damn thing that Michelle Obama said years ago that so many people on the far right had so many issues with. Have a listen to this.
And so we want to do a number of things, but not take away choice from people. The one place that I would say that we need to really change policies is the SNAP program and food stamps and in school lunches, because there the federal government in many cases is paying for it. And we shouldn't be subsidizing people to eat poison.
Will you do that in conjunction with the Department of Agriculture? Brooke Rollins was also confirmed. So you'll be working in tandem.
Yeah, and Brooke and I work very well together, and we're aligned on those issues.
Mr. Secretary.
Yeah, there you go. Very much aligned on those issues. What a joke. Michelle Obama was talking about this years ago. I mean, it's so ridiculous and it's so stupid that the far right have a problem with anything that the left does. In this case, a very intelligent and accomplished black woman named Michelle Obama. They had such a problem with this. But then if RFK Jr. starts talking about it, it's a joke. I call it as it is, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. I try to be fair on this show, and yes, I lean to the left, and yes, I don't have a lot in common with Republicans, but I also try to be fair, and I call out Democrats as I see it. And I believe Eric Adams has a lot of similarities to Donald Trump. He had a lot of very serious charges that were brought against him, a lot of mounting evidence against Eric Adams. Now, he deserved to defend himself in a courtroom, as I would say for anybody, even a Donald Trump. But if you don't think that this is a quid pro quo, then you are a bias hack. As much as I'm on Donald Trump on a daily basis, and we all know how corrupt he is, and we all know what a terrible human being he is, it's also important to call out the other side when necessary. Now, if you haven't been following this, they dropped the charges on Eric Adams. Why? Very interesting, because Eric Adams is now all on board with Donald Trump's immigration policies. He's totally okay with ICE going into synagogues and churches and deporting a bunch of nonviolent immigrants that happen to not have the proper paperwork. So Eric Adams made the excuse of, well, I can't really do my job with having to deal with these charges. Well, guess what? Then don't break the law. But Eric Adams did have the time to show up with Tom Homan today on Fox and Friends. And I want you to listen to the excuse that Eric Adams made when he was asked about this.
Think about that. Think about that. Think about my attorney, Alex Spira, one of the top trial attorneys in the country. Imagine him going inside saying that the only way Mayor Adams is going to assist in immigration, which I was calling for since 2022, right, is if you drop the charges. That's quid pro quo. That's a crime. It took her 3 weeks to report in front of her a criminal action. Right. Come on, this is silly.
No, it's not silly. And 7 prosecutors have stepped down because they are pissed off that they were pressured into dropping these charges, because clearly this was a quid pro quo. Now, if you don't believe me, listen to what Tom Homan said sitting right next to Eric Adams on Fox and Friends today.
If he doesn't come through, if he doesn't come through, I'll be back in New York City, and we won't be sitting on the couch. I'll be in his office, up his butt, saying, "Where the hell is the agreement we came to?" So,
I want ICE to deliver, and I want ICE to deliver. We're going to deliver for the safety of the people of this city.
Make no mistake about it. This is corruption. This is a quid pro quo. Eric Adams should have to face the music in a courtroom. Instead, he's playing with people's lives. What do I mean by that? He might be the only Democrat in the country that's okay with ICE deporting nonviolent criminals in churches, synagogues, and schools. Why would he be okay with this? Because the charges have been dropped. Now, I understand that a couple of years ago, Eric Adams wanted to enforce some positions that maybe some on the right would enforce, but he's never taken it this far. And now Tom Homan, you heard him, this is a quid pro quo. In other terms, we're going to file those charges against you again, Mr. Adams, unless you abide by what we say and what we do. He is a pawn for the Donald Trump administration, and Democrats and Republicans should be outraged by this. I try to call balls and strikes on this show, and I'm telling you right now, Eric Adams, in my opinion, is he as dangerous as Donald Trump? No, of course not. But there are some similarities here. And while Donald Trump is a 34-count convicted felon, okay, Eric Adams should have had his day in court to face the music. And that is now not going to happen. And there are people in New York City that are suffering for it. And there are those that are in that city for decades and decades that pay their taxes that are going to be deported so that Eric Adams doesn't get prosecuted. Ladies and gentlemen, that's wrong. And if you don't call it out, you're a bias hack. And did you guys have an opportunity to see his bat-you-know-what crazy interview with Bret Baier? And this was an edit interview, and it was still crazy. Speaking of crazy, Bret Baier asked an appropriate question to Donald Trump. What about those 19 state AGs that are filing a lawsuit against you and a judge that agreed that you were breaking the law? Listen to Donald Trump's response and the question from Bret Baier.
Some of your plays have raised some questions and had some pushbacks. 19 states attorneys general filed a lawsuit, and early Saturday, a judge agreed with them to restrict Elon Musk and his government efficiency team, DOGE, from accessing Treasury Department payment and data systems. They said there was a risk of irreparable harm. What do you make of that? And does that slow you down on what you want to do?
No, I disagree with it 100%. I think it's crazy. And
isn't it interesting that he calls all the judges crazy that rule against him? That any judge that stands up to him and says, you know what, you have to respect the rule of law, that judge is crazy. But if you're Judge Cannon and you make the wrong judgments and you agree with Donald Trump on everything and you wear the Donald Trump knee pads, you're some sort of patriot and hero. But if a judge upholds the rule of law, all those judges are crazy. We could be talking about the 2020 election and questioning the election results. Even some of those Trump-appointed judges were quote-unquote crazy. But if somebody rules in favor of Trump or is wearing the Donald Trump knee pads, then all of a sudden they're patriots. And then Bret Baier asked him about trusting Elon Musk, which, by the way, nobody should trust Elon Musk, not even his kids and his family members. But listen to this.
me to find it. And I've had a great help with Elon Musk, who's been terrific.
Bottom line, you say you trust him.
Trust Elon? Oh, he's not gaining anything. In fact, I wonder how he can devote the time to it. He's so into it. But I told him to do that. Then I'm going to tell him very soon, like maybe in 24 hours, to go check the Department of Education. He's going to find the same thing. Then I'm going to go to the military. Let's check the military. We're going to find billions, hundreds of billions of dollars of fraud and abuse. But I campaigned on this, Brett.
Is there literally anybody in this country that would believe that might be the statement of the day? Elon's not getting anything out of this. Okay, so hold on. Elon Musk donated hundreds of millions of dollars to your campaign, didn't expect to get anything in return. Is there anybody in this country that believes that? First of all, it's 100% not true, because he's literally made billions of dollars in just less than the first month of Donald Trump's tenure back in office. So Elon is going to probably make trillions of dollars in profits on a $300 or so million investment into Donald Trump's campaign. So if there is anybody on this planet, and I'm sure there are, because there's a lot of stupid people that voted for Donald Trump that probably believe every word that comes out of that orange orangutan's mouth. Is there any reasonable person with an IQ over 20 that thinks that Elon isn't, quote, getting anything out of this? He's just doing this out of the goodness of his heart. Are people in this country really that stupid that they believe him? Make no mistake about it, Elon Musk does not care about this country any more than Donald Trump does. They are only in it for themselves. If Elon is doing all this stuff because he really cares about the United States of America, yeah, okay. Sure. I cannot believe there are people in this country that believe that. Listen, there are still people in this country that think Donald Trump is make America first and he cares about normal, everyday, hardworking Americans. Those people are what I call complete idiots, insurrectionists, dumbasses, you name it. And then the question went as far as to talk about Trudeau, and he's still doubling down on Canada being the 51st state, which is an absolute joke. Have a listen to this.
You know, the Prime Minister said this weekend to a group of Canadian businessmen, he was a private meeting, he said that your wish for Canada to be the 51st state is a, quote, real thing. Is it a real thing?
Yeah, it is. I think Canada would be much better off being a 51st state because we lose $200 billion a year with Canada, and I'm not going to let that happen. It's too much. Why are we paying $200 billion a year, essentially in subsidy to Canada? Now, if they're a 51st state, I don't mind doing it.
Right. Canada is going to be the 51st state, just like you're going to buy Gaza and you're going to put troops on the ground. Just like you were going to hire a special prosecutor to go after Hillary Clinton. Just like you were going to build a wall and Mexico was going to pay for it. Just like you were going to end the war in Ukraine in 24 hours. Just like you were going to be the toughest president on China, and then you caved in the middle of the night last week, and we got nothing in return. In fact, as Ron Filipowski just pointed out, China implementing those 25% tariffs are far worse than any of the tariffs that Trump has implemented there. You got nothing from Canada. You got nothing from Mexico. You got nothing from China. And you're going to continue to get nothing from world leaders while you embarrass yourself and embarrass the country and screw our economy. There are some supermarkets out there where you can't even buy eggs. And if you are, they're about $6 or $7 for a dozen. You promised that you were going to lower inflation and gas prices. They're up dramatically since you took office. You promised to help middle America and those that are struggling living to paycheck while their pharmaceutical drugs have doubled since you took office because you signed an executive order abolishing what Joe Biden worked so hard to put together to make prescription drugs cheaper for normal, everyday Americans. When you ask one of these MAGA morons, and that's what so many of them are, what has Donald Trump done in the first month to help people that are struggling? You'll get a deer in headlights look, or they'll say something without anything specific, and they have no idea what they're talking about. Donald Trump is screwing our economy. And when some of these people finally figure it out, and listen, I'm not saying they all will, they will probably do what Donald Trump does. They'll blame it on Joe Biden. They'll blame it on Pete Buttigieg. They'll blame it on George Soros. And then when that doesn't work, they'll blame it on DEI hires. They'll blame it on black people. Then when that doesn't work, they'll blame it on migrants. And then when that doesn't work, they'll just go back into their right-wing cave and put on Newsmax and Fox News and then go to bed after pleasuring themselves to their Donald Trump poster. That's what these idiots in this country do.